Close your eyes for a moment. Think about the last time money kept you awake at night. Maybe it was last week. Maybe it was last night. That quiet panic when you're lying in the dark, wondering if you'll ever feel in control, wondering if everyone else has it figured out while you're just pretending. You're not alone in this feeling. Millions of people wake up every day carrying the same weight, the same secret. They look successful on the outside. They smile, they post, they show up. But inside, there's chaos. Numbers they don't want to face. Debts they don't want to count. A future they're too scared to plan for. But what if everything could change? Not someday, not when you make more money, not when life gets easier. What if it could change right now, with a single decision? The decision to stop running, to stop hiding, to finally look at what's real and build something solid from there. This isn't about becoming rich. This isn't about depriving yourself or living on rice and beans forever. This is about something more important: freedom, clarity, the ability to sleep at night knowing exactly where you stand, the power to make choices based on truth, not fear. Your financial transformation doesn't start with a perfect budget or a brilliant investment. It starts with courage, the courage to open your eyes, to see the numbers without flinching, to face what's real, even when it's uncomfortable. Are you ready? Because once you take this first step, everything changes, and it starts right here, right now, with the hardest and most important thing you'll ever do. Face your numbers without shame.
Chapter 1. Start with what's real. Face your numbers without shame. There's a number in your head right now. You know the one. It's the balance you don't want to check, the credit card total you've been ignoring, the amount you owe that sits in the corner of your mind like a shadow you pretend isn't there. You walk past it every day. You feel it when you're trying to fall asleep, when someone suggests dinner out and you hesitate just a second too long, when you see something you want but that quiet voice whispers, "Can you really afford this?" Most people live their entire lives in this fog. They earn money, they spend money, but they never actually look at the map. They drive blind, hoping they won't crash, praying tomorrow will somehow be different than today. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. That knot in your stomach isn't about how much you have or don't have. It's about not knowing. It's about living in a story you've created instead of dealing with reality, and that story is exhausting. Imagine you're sick, really sick, and you know something's wrong, but you refuse to see a doctor. You tell yourself it's probably nothing. You make excuses, but every day the worry grows. The not knowing becomes worse than any diagnosis could ever be. Your money works the same way. Right now, you might owe $5,000 or $15,000 or $50,000, but because you won't look, because you keep that number blurry, it feels infinite. It feels impossible. It controls you. What if you just looked? What if you opened your banking app, pulled up those statements, added up those credit cards, and wrote down the real number? Not the number you hope it is, not the number you tell people when they ask, the actual number. Something magical happens when you do this. The monster shrinks, not because the debt disappears, but because monsters live in the dark. When you turn on the light, when you see exactly what you're dealing with, it becomes manageable. It becomes a problem you can solve instead of a weight you carry forever. Think about the last time you finally did something you'd been avoiding. Maybe it was a difficult conversation, maybe it was a doctor's appointment, maybe it was confronting a friend. Remember that moment right after? That relief? That sense of, why didn't I do this sooner? That's what's waiting for you on the other side of this moment. Not shame, not judgment, freedom. The freedom that comes from standing on solid ground instead of quicksand, from making decisions based on truth instead of fear. So here's your first mission. Not next week, not when you feel ready, right now. Grab your phone, open your banking app, log into your credit cards, look at every account, every loan, every subscription, write it all down. Income, expenses, debts, everything. Yes, your heart might race. Yes, you might want to stop halfway through. That's normal. That's your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. But discomfort isn't dangerous, it's just uncomfortable. And on the other side of it is clarity. Because here's what most people never realize. You can't fix what you won't face. You can't change what you refuse to see. And you can't build a better future on a foundation of denial. The number is just a number. It doesn't define you. It doesn't judge you. It's simply information. And information is power. The moment you know exactly where you stand, you can start moving forward. Not someday, today. Your transformation doesn't start with a perfect plan or a big income. It starts here, with courage, with honesty, with looking at what's real and saying, okay, now I know, now I can do something about it. So take a breath, open that app, face your numbers, and let everything change.
Chapter 2, The 50-30-20 Foundation, a simple system that actually works. You've faced your numbers. You know where you stand. Now comes the question everyone asks. What do I actually do with my money? Most budgeting advice sounds like punishment. Cut everything, live on nothing, eat beans and rice until you hate your life, give up coffee, cancel subscriptions, stop living. It's no wonder people quit before they even start. But what if budgeting didn't have to feel like prison? What if there was a way to manage your money that actually made sense? A system so simple you could explain it to a child, yet powerful enough to transform your entire financial life. Welcome to the 50-30-20 rule. 3 numbers, 3 categories, 1 framework that changes everything. Here's how it works. Every dollar you earn gets divided into 3 buckets. 50% goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, 20% goes to savings and debt. That's it. No complicated spreadsheets, no tracking every single penny. Just 3 simple categories that cover your entire life. Let's break this down. Needs are the things you can't live without. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance. The basics that keep you alive and functioning. These get half your income. Not more, not less. 50%. Now, some of you are already panicking. 50%? My rent alone is 60% of my income. And that's real. That's valid. But here's what this number tells you. It tells you that you have a problem you need to solve. Maybe you need a roommate. Maybe you need to move. Maybe you need to increase your income. The 50-30-20 rule doesn't judge you. It just shows you reality. Next comes wants, 30%. This is everything that makes life worth living. Restaurants, entertainment, hobbies, that streaming service, new clothes, concerts, coffee dates. This isn't punishment money. This is joy money. This is the part that lets you actually enjoy your life while you're building your future. People get this wrong all the time. They think financial responsibility means saying no to everything fun. It doesn't. It means saying yes intentionally. It means knowing that you have $300 this month for fun, and you get to choose how to spend it. That's not restriction. That's freedom. Finally, 20% goes to your future. Savings, investments, paying off debt faster, building your emergency fund. This is the money that buys you options, that gives you breathing room, that transforms your life from paycheck to paycheck into something stable and secure. 20% might sound like a lot. And if you're starting from zero, if you're drowning in debt,
It might feel impossible. That's okay. Start with 10%. Start with 5%. The number matters less than the habit. What matters is that you're consistently choosing your future self over your current comfort. Here's why this system works when everything else fails. It's flexible. Life happens. Some months your needs spike because your car breaks down. Some months you spend less on wants because you're busy with work. The percentages are a target, not a cage. They guide you without strangling you. And it's honest. It doesn't pretend you're a robot who never wants anything. It builds enjoyment into the plan. You get to spend 30% on whatever makes you happy, guilt-free, because it's part of the system. You're not cheating. You're not failing. You're living. Think about your last paycheck. Where did it go? If you're like most people, it sort of disappeared. A little here, a little there. By the end of the month, you're not sure what happened. You just know it's gone. Now imagine this instead. Your paycheck arrives. You immediately know exactly what to do. 50% to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to future you. Clear, simple, powerful. This is your foundation, your framework, the structure that turns chaos into clarity. You don't need a finance degree to make this work. You don't need fancy apps or complicated systems. You just need 3 numbers and the discipline to honor them. So grab a calculator. Look at your last month's income. Divide it by these percentages. See what you get. Then compare it to what you actually spent. The gap between where you are and where you should be, that's not failure. That's your roadmap. That's showing you exactly what needs to change. The 50-30-20 rule won't solve every problem overnight, but it will give you something most people never have: a plan, a path, a way forward that actually makes sense. And that's where real transformation begins.
Chapter 3. Track it to tame it. Why awareness changes everything. There's a leak in your life. Right now. Money is pouring out and you don't even see it. Not because you're careless, not because you're stupid, but because you're human. And humans are terrible at noticing what they're not actively watching. Think about the last time you checked your bank balance and thought, where did all that money go? You weren't robbed. You didn't make any huge purchases. It just vanished. Disappeared into the fog of daily life. Coffee here, lunch there, a subscription you forgot about. $10 that felt like nothing in the moment but added up to everything by the end of the month. This is why people fail at managing money. Not because they earn enough, not because they're not smart enough, but because they're not aware enough. They're flying blind, making decisions in the dark, hoping everything works out without actually checking if it does. Tracking changes this completely, immediately, permanently. When you start tracking your spending, something shifts in your brain. Suddenly, that impulse purchase isn't invisible anymore. It's real. It's recorded. It's staring back at you from your tracking sheet. And that tiny moment of awareness, that split second where you think, do I really want to write this down, is often enough to make you pause, to choose differently, to save money without even trying. You don't need a fancy app. You don't need complex software or expensive programs. A simple notes app on your phone works perfectly. Every time you spend money, you write it down. The amount, the category. That's it. 10 seconds of effort that saves you hundreds of dollars. Let's be honest. This sounds boring, tedious, like homework nobody wants to do. And you're right. It's not exciting. But neither is checking your bank account and feeling that sick drop in your stomach when you realize you're broke again. Neither is lying awake at night wondering where all your money went. Tracking is the price of awareness, and awareness is the price of control. You can't change what you don't measure. You can't fix problems you refuse to see. Every successful person in every field tracks something.
Athletes track their performance. Business owners track their revenue. If you want to succeed with money, you track your spending. Here's what happens after just 1 week of tracking. You start noticing patterns. You realize you spend $60 a week on takeout when you thought it was maybe $20. You see that your weekend spending is triple your weekday spending. You discover subscriptions you completely forgot existed. $15 here, $10 there. Money leaking out of your life like water through a cracked pipe. But awareness alone isn't enough. The real magic happens when you review. Once a week, you sit down and look at what you tracked. Not to judge yourself, not to feel guilty, just to see, to notice, to ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my money? Is this aligned with what I say I value? Maybe you'll discover you spent $80 on coffee last month. That's not bad or good. It's just information. But now you get to decide. Is coffee worth $80 to you? Does it bring you $80 worth of joy? Or would you rather make coffee at home and put that money towards something you care about more? This is where people get tracking wrong. They think it's about restriction, about punishing themselves for every purchase. It's not. It's about intention, about making sure your money matches your values, about spending on things that actually matter to you instead of letting your money drift away on things you don't even remember buying. Imagine walking through your house with a bucket of water, but the bucket has tiny holes. You don't notice them. You just know that by the time you reach your destination, the bucket is empty. Tracking is like finding those holes, plugging them, making sure the water you're carrying actually gets where you want it to go. Some of you are thinking, I don't have time for this. You're busy. Life is overwhelming. Adding one more task feels impossible. But here's the truth. You have time to scroll social media. You have time to watch shows. You have time to worry about money at 3 in the morning. You have time. You just need to decide that your financial future is worth 10 seconds per purchase. Start today, right now. Open your Notes app. Create a new note called Spending Tracker. And every single time you buy something for the next 7 days, write it down. Just the amount and what it was for. That's it. No judgment, no pressure, just observation. Then, next week, review it. Look at where your money actually went, and notice how that awareness, that simple act of seeing, begins to change everything. Because you can't tame what you won't track. But once you start tracking, the leak stops, the fog clears, and you finally take control.
Chapter 4. First Money Out. Your Future Self. Lock in savings before you spend. Here's a truth that will change your financial life forever. You can't save what's left over. You can only save what you take first. Most people approach saving backwards. They earn money, they pay their bills, they buy what they need, and they enjoy their life. And then, if there's anything left over at the end of the month, they save it. Spoiler alert, there's never anything left. There's always one more expense, one more thing you forgot about, one more reason why this month wasn't the right month to save. This is why people who earn $30,000 a year are broke, and why people who earn $300,000 a year are also broke. The amount doesn't matter if the system is broken, and the system of saving what's left over is broken by design. Your brain doesn't want to save. It wants to spend. It wants instant gratification. It wants to feel good right now, not 30 years from now. So when you give your brain access to all your money first, then ask it to voluntarily set some aside, you're fighting biology. You're trying to win a war you're designed to lose. But there's a better way. A way that works with your brain instead of against it. A way that makes saving automatic, effortless, and guaranteed. It's called paying yourself first. And it's the single most powerful financial habit you can ever build. Here's how it works. The moment your paycheck hits your account, before you pay a single bill, before you buy a single thing, you transfer money to savings immediately, automatically, without thinking,
without negotiating, without asking yourself if you can afford it this month. 20% if you're following the 50-30-20 rule. 10% if you're just starting out. Even 5% if that's all you can manage right now. The number matters less than the principle. First money out goes to future you. Everything else comes after. This feels wrong at first. Your brain panics. What if I can't pay my bills? What if I need that money? What if there's an emergency? But here's the secret. You'll figure it out. Humans are incredibly resourceful when we have to be. When that money isn't sitting in your checking account, tempting you, calling to you, you find a way to live without it. You cut back somewhere else. You make it work. But when the money's there, when it's available, when you tell yourself you'll save it later, you never do. There's always a reason to spend it, always a justification, always something that feels more urgent than your future. Think about this. When your rent is due, you pay it. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't say, well, maybe next month. You find the money because you have to. Paying yourself first creates that same non-negotiable commitment. You're making a promise to future you that present you can't break. Let's talk about what this actually looks like. You set up an automatic transfer. The day after your paycheck arrives, a set amount moves from checking to savings. You don't see it, you don't touch it. You don't have to make a decision. It just happens, like rent, like taxes, like any other bill you'd never skip. And here's what's incredible. After a few months, you don't even miss it. Your brain adjusts, your spending adapts. You learn to live on what's left because that's all you have access to. The money in savings becomes invisible. It grows quietly in the background while you live your life. Some of you are thinking about emergencies, about unexpected expenses, about all the what-ifs that keep you from committing. That's exactly why you're doing this. That's exactly why future you needs this money. Because emergencies happen, cars break down, people get sick, jobs end. And when those moments come, when life hits you hard, you'll have money waiting, money you saved without effort, because you paid yourself first. This isn't about being perfect. Some months will be harder than others. Sometimes you might need to temporarily reduce the amount or skip a month. That's life. That's real. But the system remains. The habit stays intact. Because habits aren't about perfection. They're about consistency, about showing up more often than you don't. Imagine it's 5 years from now. You've been paying yourself first every single month, even just 10%. Do you know what you'll have? Not just money, not just a healthy savings account. You'll have proof. Proof that you can keep promises to yourself. Proof that you can change. Proof that future you matters as much as present you. So today, right now, set up that automatic transfer. Decide on an amount, pick a day. Make it happen, and then watch as your financial life transforms. Not because you're earning more, not because you're suddenly perfect with money, but because you made one simple decision: to pay yourself first every single time.
Chapter 5. Build your safety net first. The 3 months rule that brings peace. There's a specific kind of anxiety that money can't always solve, but there's one kind it absolutely can. The anxiety of not knowing if you'll survive the next crisis. The fear that keeps you trapped in jobs you hate, relationships that hurt you, situations that slowly kill your soul, all because you can't afford to leave. This is what life without a safety net feels like. Every unexpected expense becomes a disaster. A car repair, a medical bill, a broken phone. Things that should be minor inconveniences become catastrophic events that derail your entire financial life. You're one emergency away from debt, one crisis away from complete chaos. But it doesn't have to be this way. There's a specific number that changes everything. 3 months. 3 months of living expenses.
sitting in a savings account, waiting for the day you need it. Not invested, not tied up, just there, accessible, ready. This is your emergency fund, your safety net, the financial cushion that transforms you from fragile to resilient, from trapped to free, from constantly afraid to finally secure. Let's be real about what 3 months of expenses actually means. You need to calculate your absolute survival costs, not your ideal spending, not your comfortable lifestyle. The bare minimum you need to keep a roof over your head, food in your stomach, and your basic life functioning. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance. Add it up, multiply by 3, that's your target. For some people, that's $5,000. For others, it's $15,000. The number doesn't matter. What matters is having it. What matters is knowing that when life hits you, and it will, you won't crumble. You'll bend. You'll adapt. You'll survive. Building this fund feels impossible at first, especially if you're starting from zero, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck. The gap between where you are and where you need to be feels insurmountable, like climbing a mountain with no equipment. But here's the secret. You don't build it all at once. You build it $1 at a time, one paycheck at a time. Remember that 20% we talked about in the 50-30-20 rule? That's not all going to retirement. That's not all going to investing. First, it's going here, to your emergency fund, to your safety net, to the foundation that everything else is built on. Start with $1,000. That's your first milestone. $1,000 protects you from most small emergencies. A flat tire, a surprise bill, something breaks. $1,000 means these things are annoying instead of devastating. It means you can handle them without going into debt, without panic, without destroying the progress you've made. Then you push to 1 month of expenses, then 2, then 3. Each milestone feels like a victory, because it is. Each month you add to this fund is a month of freedom you're buying yourself. A month of breathing room. A month where you get to make choices based on what's best for you instead of what you can survive. Here's what nobody tells you about emergency funds. They change you psychologically. Knowing that money is there, even when you're not using it, shifts how you feel about everything. You walk differently. You breathe easier. You sleep better. That constant background hum of anxiety starts to fade. Not because your life is perfect, but because you know you can handle whatever comes. And things will come. That's not pessimism. That's reality. Life is unpredictable. Cars break. Bodies break. Jobs end. Relationships change. Having 3 months of expenses saved doesn't prevent these things from happening, but it prevents them from destroying you. It gives you time, options, the ability to respond instead of just react. Think about the last time something unexpected happened. How did you handle it? Did you have to put it on a credit card? Borrow from family? Scramble and stress and lose sleep? Now imagine having that money ready, just sitting there, waiting. How different would that situation have felt? Some people worry that having an emergency fund means their money isn't working for them. It's not invested. It's not growing. It's just sitting there. And they're right. It is just sitting there. That's exactly the point. This isn't money for building wealth. This is money for surviving storms. You don't invest your parachute. You keep it ready, just in case. Your emergency fund lives in a high-yield savings account, separate from your checking, separate from your everyday money. out of sight, hard to access impulsively, but available immediately when a real emergency hits. Not for vacations, not for a good deal, not for something you really want. For emergencies, real ones. And here's the hardest part. Once you build this fund, you have to protect it fiercely, because your brain will try to convince you that lots of things are emergencies when they're really not. A sale isn't an emergency. A friend's wedding isn't an emergency. Wanting something badly isn't an emergency. You need clear rules for what counts. Otherwise, that safety net disappears the moment you need it most. 3 months of expenses. 3 months of peace. 3 months of knowing that whatever happens, you'll be okay. That's not just smart money management. That's self-love. That's caring about your future self enough to protect them. That's building a life where you're not controlled by fear. So start today, even if it's just $20, even if it feels like nothing. Every dollar in your emergency fund is a tiny brick in the wall that protects your peace. Build it slowly, build it steadily, and watch as your entire relationship with money, with work, with life itself begins to transform.
Chapter 6. The Pause That Saves You. Break the impulse cycle permanently. Your phone buzzes. There's a sale. 50% off, limited time. Only a few left. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your thumb hovers over the buy button. You think, I deserve this. I work hard. It's a good deal. And before you can think twice, you've purchased something you didn't know you needed 5 minutes ago. This happens to everyone, multiple times a week, sometimes multiple times a day. We live in a world engineered to make you spend. Every app, every website, every store, they've spent billions of dollars studying your brain, learning exactly how to bypass your rational mind and trigger your impulses. And it works. It works incredibly well. That's why people with good incomes and good intentions still end up broke. Not because they're weak, not because they lack discipline, but because they're fighting a system designed to make them lose. But there's a weapon they don't want you to know about. It costs nothing, takes minimal effort, and completely neutralizes their entire strategy. It's called the pause, and it will save you thousands of dollars without feeling like sacrifice. Here's how it works. Before any non-essential purchase, you pause, you wait. 24 hours for purchases under $100, 72 hours for anything over. No exceptions, no justifications. You see something you want, you write it down, and you wait. This sounds simple, almost too simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. Your brain will fight you on this. It will tell you that you'll forget, that the sale will end, that someone else will buy it, that you need it now. These aren't rational thoughts. They're emotional manipulation that your brain mistakes for urgency. The pause works because impulses don't last. That burning desire to own something fades remarkably fast when you're not staring at it, when you give yourself space, when you let the dopamine rush settle and your rational brain come back online. 24 hours later, that thing you absolutely had to have, you've often completely forgotten about it. Think about the last 10 things you bought impulsively. Not groceries, not bills, the stuff you bought because you wanted it in that moment. How many of those things do you still use? How many brought lasting value to your life? How many are sitting in a closet, a drawer, forgotten and unused? Now imagine if you'd paused before each one, waited a day, given yourself time to think. How many would you still have bought? Maybe half? Maybe less? That's not restriction. That's liberation. That's getting your money back from a system designed to steal it. Let's talk about how to actually implement this. You need a system, a wish list,
A place where you write down everything you want to buy but haven't yet. It can be a note on your phone, a physical notebook. Doesn't matter. What matters is having somewhere to capture the desire without acting on it immediately. When you see something you want, you add it to the list. You write the item, the price, the date, and then you close the tab. You walk away. You let time pass. This does two things. First, it satisfies the part of your brain that wants to take action. You did something. You recorded it. You didn't just ignore the impulse. Second, it creates space. Space for the emotion to settle, for clarity to emerge. After 24 hours, you review the list. You look at what you wanted yesterday, and you ask yourself honest questions. Do I still want this? Will it actually improve my life? Is it worth the hours I worked to earn this money? Can I afford it within my 30% wants budget? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes that pause helps you realize that you really do value this thing, that it aligns with what matters to you, that it's worth the cost. And when you buy it, after waiting, after thinking, after choosing intentionally, it feels different, better, like a decision instead of a reaction. But most of the time, the answer is no. Most of the time, you realize it was just a moment, a feeling, a dopamine hit that your brain mistook for need. And you cross it off the list, delete it, move on, without regret, without feeling like you missed out. Because you didn't want the thing, you wanted the feeling the thing promised to give you. And feelings don't come from purchases. Here's where it gets interesting. The more you practice the pause, the easier it becomes. Your brain starts to rewire. That impulse to purchase pathway weakens. You stop being triggered by every ad, every sale, every limited time offer. You develop immunity to the manipulation. You become someone who spends intentionally instead of impulsively. And the money you save is incredible. If you're currently spending $300 a month on impulse purchases, and the pause helps you avoid even half of that, you're saving $1,800 a year just by waiting, just by giving yourself time to think. That's a vacation. That's a massive boost to your emergency fund. That's financial breathing room you didn't have before. Some purchases need to happen quickly. True emergencies, essential replacements, things that can't wait. The pause doesn't apply there. You're not creating artificial barriers to things you genuinely need. You're creating necessary friction for things you don't. There's a difference, and you know what that difference is. The company selling to you understands psychology better than you do. They know about scarcity, about urgency, about social proof, about how to make you feel like you're missing out if you don't buy right now. They've weaponized these principles. They're using them against you every single day. The pause is your defense, your shield, your way of taking back control from a system that wants you broke and impulsive and constantly consuming. It's not about never buying anything. It's about buying with intention, with thought, with alignment to what you actually value. So starting today, commit to the pause. 24 hours for small purchases, 72 hours for large ones. Write it down, walk away, see what happens, and watch as the impulse cycle that's been draining your bank account finally, permanently breaks.
Chapter 7. The Sunday Money Hour. One weekly habit that protects everything. Every successful system has a checkpoint, a moment where you stop, assess, adjust. Without this, even the best plans drift. You start strong. You have good intentions, but slowly, imperceptibly, you slide off track. Not because you failed, but because you stopped paying attention. This is why most financial plans collapse, not from one big mistake, but from 1,000 tiny ones that nobody noticed until it was too late.
a subscription that renews, a budget category that inflates, small spending that slowly becomes big spending. Death by 1,000 cuts. All preventable, all fixable, if you just looked. Welcome to the Sunday Money Hour. 1 hour, once a week. The habit that keeps everything else working. The checkpoint that catches problems before they become disasters. The ritual that transforms financial management from overwhelming to effortless. Here's what you do. Every Sunday, same time, same place, you sit down with your money. You review the past week. You plan for the week ahead. You make sure everything is on track. 60 minutes, that's all. Not negotiable, not optional. As essential as sleeping or eating. Start by pulling up your spending from the past 7 days. If you've been tracking like we discussed, this is easy. You look at what you spent, where it went, whether it matched your budget, whether it aligned with your values. No judgment, no shame. Just observation. Just data. You'll notice things, patterns you couldn't see day by day. Maybe you overspend on weekends. Maybe eating out is creeping up. Maybe that budget category you thought was fine is actually a problem. These insights are gold. They're telling you exactly what needs to change, but you only get them if you look. Next, you check your accounts, all of them, checking, savings, credit cards. You make sure there are no surprises, no fraudulent charges, no fees you didn't expect, no subscriptions you forgot to cancel. This takes 5 minutes, but it saves you from the sick feeling of discovering a problem months later when it's harder to fix. Then you look ahead. What's coming this week? Any unusual expenses, bills due, events that might cost money? You plan for these. You make sure you have room in your budget. You avoid the trap of being surprised by things you could have anticipated. Because most financial stress comes from things you knew were coming but didn't prepare for. Now comes the adjustment phase. Based on what you learned from reviewing the past week, you tweak your plan. Maybe you need to move money between categories. Maybe you need to cut back in one area to make room in another. Maybe you're doing great and just need to maintain. Whatever it is, you make small corrections now instead of big ones later. This is also when you celebrate wins. Did you stick to your budget? Did you save like you planned? Did you avoid impulse purchases? Acknowledge it. Feel good about it. Progress deserves recognition. Not because you're perfect, but because you showed up. You tried. You improved. That matters. The Sunday Money Hour isn't just about numbers. It's about connection, about staying engaged with your financial life instead of avoiding it. Money anxiety comes from uncertainty, from not knowing. This hour removes that uncertainty. It gives you clarity, control, confidence that you're steering the ship instead of just hoping it doesn't sink. Think about how you feel right now about your finances. That vague unease, that background worry, that sense that something might be wrong but you're not sure what. The Sunday Money Hour eliminates this completely. Because you know, you checked, you're on top of it. Nothing is hiding, nothing is surprising you. You're aware, you're prepared, you're okay. Some weeks this hour feels productive. You find problems, you fix things. You make improvements. Other weeks it feels boring. Everything's fine. Nothing needs changing. Both are valuable. The boring weeks are actually the best weeks. They mean your systems are working. Your habits are solid. You're maintaining instead of constantly reacting. Here's how to make this habit stick. Choose a specific time. Sunday at 9 in the morning. Sunday at 7 in the evening. Whatever works for your schedule. Put it in your calendar. Treat it like a meeting you can't miss. Because it is. It's a meeting with your future self, and that self is depending on you to show up. Make it pleasant. Brew coffee. Play music. Sit somewhere comfortable. This shouldn't feel like punishment. It should feel like self-care. Because that's what it is. You're caring for your financial health the same way you care for your physical health, with regular checkups, with prevention, with attention. You'll be tempted to skip it, especially when things are going well, when you're busy, when you'd rather relax. Don't. The weeks you want to skip are often the weeks you need it most. Consistency isn't about doing things when they're easy. It's about doing them when they're hard. That's what builds unbreakable habits. Some people say they don't have an hour. They're too busy, too overwhelmed, too much going on. But they spend hours on social media, hours watching shows, hours doing things that don't move their life forward. You have the time. You just need to decide your financial future is worth it. After a few months of Sunday money hours, something shifts. You stop dreading money. You stop avoiding your accounts. You actually look forward to this time because it's when you get to see progress, when you get to witness your savings growing, your debt shrinking, your financial life improving week by week. And when life throws curveballs, when unexpected expenses hit, when things get complicated, you don't panic because you have your system. You have your hour. You know that this Sunday you'll sit down, assess the situation, make adjustments, and figure it out. You're not scrambling. You're responding like someone in control. 1 hour, every Sunday, for the rest of your life. This is the habit that makes every other financial habit easier. This is the checkpoint that keeps you on track. This is how you transform from someone who hopes their money works out to someone who knows it will. Because you're watching, you're paying attention, you're showing up, week after week after week.
Chapter 8. Debt, Your Clear Path Out. Small Wins That Lead to Freedom. Debt feels like drowning. Like no matter how hard you swim, the surface never gets closer. Every month you make payments. Every month the balance barely moves. Every month you wonder if you'll ever be free. If you'll spend your entire life paying for decisions you made years ago. The weight of it sits on your chest. It follows you into every decision. Can I afford this? Should I take this job? Can I leave this relationship? The answer is always complicated by the number. That balance that won't go away, that reminder that you're not fully in control of your own life. But here's what the debt wants you to forget. It's not permanent. It's not a life sentence. It's just math. And math can be solved. You can get out. Not someday, not eventually. You can start right now. And the path is clearer than you think. First, you need to see it all. Every debt, every balance, every interest rate. Write it down, not in your head, on paper, in a spreadsheet, somewhere real where you can see the full picture. Credit cards, student loans, car loans, medical debt, personal loans, everything. This list is your enemy, but it's also your roadmap, because you can't fight what you can't see. You can't defeat what you refuse to acknowledge. This is your debt. All of it, ugly and honest and real. Now you know what you're facing. Now you can make a plan. There are 2 strategies that actually work: the avalanche method and the snowball method. The avalanche focuses on math. You pay the minimum on everything except the debt with the highest interest rate. You attack that one with everything extra you have. Once it's gone, you move to the next highest rate. This saves you the most money over time. The snowball focuses on psychology. You pay the minimum on everything except the smallest debt. You kill that one fast. Then you take that payment and add it to the next smallest debt. You're building momentum, creating wins,
proving to yourself that you can do this. It costs more in interest, but gives you emotional fuel to keep going. Which one is right? The one you'll actually stick with. If you need logical efficiency, do the avalanche. If you need emotional wins, do the snowball. Both work. Both get you to the same place: freedom. The method matters less than the commitment. Now let's talk about finding extra money to throw at debt, because minimum payments won't free you. They're designed to keep you trapped, to maximize what you pay in interest. You need extra. And you have it. You just need to find it. Remember that 50-30-20 framework? Your 20% for savings and debt? While you're getting out of debt, most of that 20 goes here. You keep a small emergency fund, maybe $1,000, but the rest becomes your weapon, your debt destroyer, your path to freedom. You also cut temporarily from your 30% wants. Not completely, you're not living on nothing, but maybe instead of 30%, you drop to 20. You redirect that 10% to debt payoff. It's temporary, it's strategic, it's you choosing freedom over comfort for a season. Every extra dollar helps. That coffee money, that subscription you don't use, that thing you were going to buy but paused on. All of it goes to debt. You become ruthless, not forever, just until you're free. This is war. And in war, you sacrifice comfort for victory. Here's the part nobody talks about. Paying off debt is emotional. The first few months, you barely see progress. The balances move so slowly, it feels pointless. This is where most people quit. They convince themselves it's impossible, that they'll never get ahead, that they should just accept being in debt forever. But if you push through, if you keep making those payments, something magical happens. Your first debt disappears. Maybe it's small. Maybe it only took 3 months. But it's gone. Zero balance. And that feeling, that moment of seeing a debt completely eliminated, it changes you. It proves that this isn't impossible. It's just hard. Then you take that payment, the one you were making on the debt you just killed, and you add it to the next debt. Now you're paying even more. The second debt falls faster than the first. Then the third falls even faster. The snowball is rolling. The momentum is building. What felt impossible 6 months ago now feels inevitable. Every debt you eliminate gives you more breathing room, more mental space, more emotional energy. Debt isn't just financial, it's psychological. It drains you, stresses you, keeps you up at night. And every balance you zero out lifts that weight a little more. You'll have setbacks, unexpected expenses, months where you can't pay extra. Life happens. That's normal. The key is getting back on track, not quitting, not giving up, not convincing yourself that one bad month means the whole plan failed. You pause, you adjust, you continue, because stopping means staying trapped. Some people ask about consolidation, about refinancing, about balance transfers. These can help if they lower your interest rates significantly, but they're not magic. They don't eliminate debt. They just reorganize it. You still have to pay it. You still need a plan. You still need discipline. The method might change, but the commitment can't. As you get closer to being debt-free, something strange happens. You start to believe it's actually possible. That date when you'll make your last payment starts feeling real. You can see it, picture it. You know what you'll do with that money once it's not going to debt anymore, how it will feel to be free. And then one day it happens. Your last payment, your last debt, zero balances across the board. You're free. Not rich, not perfect, but free. The money you earn is yours. The choices you make aren't limited by what you owe. You can breathe without that weight on your chest. This isn't fantasy. This is your future. If you decide it is. If you make the plan. If you stick to it. If you choose freedom over comfort, over appearances, over instant gratification, one payment at a time, one debt at a time, until there's nothing left but space to build something better.
Chapter 9. Upgrade your money brain. The knowledge that compounds forever. You know what's interesting? Most people spend 12 years in school learning things they'll never use. Algebra, chemistry, historical dates. But money, the thing that affects every single day of their adult life, almost nobody teaches them that. So you graduate, you start earning, and you're supposed to just figure it out. How to invest, how compound interest works, what a 401k is, tax advantages, retirement planning, asset allocation. It's like being handed a spaceship and told to fly it without a manual. This is why smart people make terrible money decisions, not because they're stupid, but because they're ignorant. And ignorance in finance is expensive. Every year you don't understand investing costs you thousands in lost growth. Every tax advantage you miss is money you'll never get back. Every financial mistake you make because you didn't know better sets you back months or years. But here's the good news. Money knowledge is learnable, completely, totally. You don't need a finance degree. You don't need to be good at math. You just need to be willing to learn, to read, to study, to upgrade your financial brain one concept at a time. Start with compound interest. This is the most important concept in all of finance. Money that earns money, returns that generate more returns, growth that accelerates over time. Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. He was right. Here's how it works. You invest $1,000 at a 10% annual return. After 1 year, you have $1,100. But in year 2, you don't just earn interest on your original $1,000. You earn interest on the $1,100. Your money makes money, and that money makes money. And over decades, this turns modest investments into life-changing wealth. The difference between starting to invest at 25 versus 35 isn't just 10 years of contributions. It's tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost compound growth. Time is your most valuable asset when it comes to money, not because you need to work longer, but because you need your money to work longer. Next, understand the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. Your car? That's not an asset unless it's generating income. It's depreciating, costing you maintenance, insurance. It's a liability. Your house? Debatable. It might appreciate, but it's also costing you property taxes, maintenance, interest. Real assets are things like investments, stocks, bonds, real estate that generates rental income, businesses, things that grow in value or produce cash flow. The wealthy build assets. Everyone else buys liabilities and wonders why they stay broke. Learn about tax-advantaged accounts, your employer's retirement plan, IRAs, HSAs. These aren't just accounts. They're legal loopholes that let you pay less tax. Money you contribute to a traditional 401k, that comes out before taxes. You're essentially getting a discount on your investment. Money in a Roth IRA grows tax-free forever. You'll never pay tax on those gains. That's huge! Understand that investing isn't gambling. It's not picking hot stocks. It's not timing the market. It's buying broad index funds, holding them for decades, ignoring the noise, ignoring the crashes, just consistently investing and letting compound growth do the work. The market goes up over time, always has, probably always will. You just have to stay in long enough to benefit. Learn about inflation. Money sitting in a checking account isn't safe. It's dying, losing value every year as prices rise. If inflation is 3% and your money earns nothing, you're losing 3% of your purchasing power annually. That's why investing matters.
Not to get rich, but to protect what you have from slowly being eroded by inflation. Study the psychology of money. Understand your biases, your fear of loss, your tendency toward recency bias, your overconfidence, your herd mentality. These psychological traps cost investors more money than market crashes ever do. Knowing they exist helps you avoid them, helps you make rational decisions instead of emotional ones. Read books, not get-rich-quick garbage. Real books about investing, about financial planning, about wealth building. 1 book a month, 12 books a year. In 5 years, you'll know more about money than 99% of people. That knowledge will earn you more than any job raise ever could. Follow credible sources, blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels that teach real financial principles. Not people selling courses, not gurus promising secrets. People who actually know what they're talking about, who cite sources, who admit what they don't know, who care about education over selling. But here's the key. Learning isn't enough. You have to apply it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. You can read every investing book ever written, but if you never actually invest, you're no better off than someone who never read anything. Start small. Open an investment account. Put in $50. Buy a simple index fund. Watch what happens. Not daily, not obsessively, but observe, learn, get comfortable, then add more. Increase your contributions. Build the habit. Make investing as automatic as saving. You'll make mistakes. You'll buy things you shouldn't. You'll sell when you should hold. You'll panic during crashes. That's normal. That's part of learning. The market is the world's most expensive teacher, but the lessons stick because they cost you real money. Every concept you learn, every principle you understand, every mistake you make and learn from, that's upgrading your money brain. That's building financial intelligence that will serve you for decades, that will help you make better decisions, avoid costly errors, build real wealth. Think about where you want to be in 20 years. Financially secure, comfortable, free. That future isn't built on luck. It's built on knowledge applied consistently over time. It's built on understanding how money works and making it work for you. Your financial education is the best investment you'll ever make. It costs almost nothing, just time and attention. But it pays dividends forever, every year. Every decision, every dollar you earn will be managed better because you know more. That's power. That's freedom. That's what upgrading your money brain really means.
Chapter 10. Set it and forget it. Automation for people who want results. Here's the brutal truth about willpower. It runs out. Every single day, you wake up with a full tank. But every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every hard choice you face drains it a little more. By evening, that tank is empty, and that's when you make your worst decisions. This is why relying on discipline alone fails. You can be incredibly disciplined at 8 in the morning, strong, focused, committed to your financial goals. But by 8 at night, when you're tired and stressed and scrolling your phone, that discipline vanishes. One click, one purchase, one decision that undoes the progress you made all day. The solution isn't more willpower, it's less need for willpower. It's building systems that work whether you're motivated or not, whether you're disciplined or not, whether you're having a good day or falling apart. Systems that run in the background, protecting you, building your future without requiring constant attention or perfect behavior. This is automation, and it's the difference between people who succeed with money and people who struggle forever despite good intentions. Start with your savings. Remember, pay yourself first. Make it automatic. Set up a transfer that happens the day after your paycheck arrives. A set amount moves from checking to savings. You never see it. You never touch it. You never have to decide. It just happens.
like gravity, like breathing, inevitable and effortless. This removes the decision completely. You can't forget. You can't procrastinate. You can't convince yourself to skip this month. The system doesn't care about your excuses, doesn't care about your mood, doesn't care about that thing you really want to buy. It executes every time, without fail. Next, automate your bills. Everything that's the same amount every month. Rent, phone, internet, insurance. Set them to auto-pay. Not because you can't remember to pay them, but because paying bills manually is a waste of mental energy. Energy you could spend on things that actually matter, things that move your life forward. Some people fear automation. What if I don't have enough money? What if something goes wrong? These are valid concerns, but they're solved with systems, not by avoiding automation. You maintain a buffer in your checking account, a cushion that ensures bills never bounce. You still check your accounts weekly during your Sunday money hour. Automation doesn't mean ignorance, it means efficiency. Automate your investments too. If your employer offers a 401k, set your contribution percentage and forget it. Money comes out of every paycheck before you see it, invested automatically, growing quietly, building your retirement without requiring any action from you. Don't have a 401k? Open an IRA. Set up automatic monthly transfers from your checking account to your investment account. Then set your investment account to automatically purchase index funds with that money. The entire chain runs itself. You're building wealth while you sleep, while you work, while you live your life. Automate your debt payments. Set up automatic payments for at least the minimum. Then schedule additional payments if you're following a debt payoff plan. You're not just making one decision to pay off debt, you're making that decision automatic, every month until it's gone. No willpower required. Even your budget can be partially automated. Use separate accounts for different categories. One for bills, one for spending, one for savings. When your paycheck arrives, automatic transfers split it according to your 50-30-20 plan. Now your money is physically separated. You can spend what's in your spending account guilt-free because you know everything else is already handled. The beauty of automation is that it works with human nature instead of against it. You're not trying to be perfect. You're not relying on motivation that fades. You're acknowledging that you're human, that you'll have weak moments, bad days, times when you don't want to do the right thing, and you're protecting yourself from those moments. Think about your current financial routine. How many decisions do you make every day about money? Should I transfer to savings? Should I pay extra on this debt? Should I invest this month? Each decision is a point of failure, a moment where motivation matters, where discipline is required, where you might choose wrong. Now imagine having none of those decision points. Everything is automatic. Your paycheck arrives, the system executes, money goes where it needs to go. You're left with what you can spend. Everything else is handled. You've eliminated 90% of the decisions that trip people up. This doesn't mean you stop paying attention. You still do your Sunday money hour. You still track your spending. You still adjust when necessary. But you're adjusting systems, not making daily decisions. You're steering the ship, not rowing every second. That's leverage. That's efficiency. Some people resist automation because they want control. They want to manually manage everything. They want to feel involved. But that's ego, not wisdom. Real control isn't manually doing everything. It's building systems that do things better than you could manually. That's not giving up control. That's multiplying it. Start today. Pick one thing to automate: your savings transfer, your biggest bill, your investment contribution. Set it up, test it, make sure it works. Then add another and another. Within a month, your entire financial life can run on autopilot. You'll spend less time managing money and more time living life, while your money works harder than it ever has. Automation is how normal people build extraordinary financial lives. Not through superhuman discipline, not through perfect behavior, but through systems that work regardless of how they feel. Systems that turn good intentions into guaranteed results. Systems that protect you from yourself on your worst days and amplify your efforts on your best days. Set it, forget it. Watch your financial life transform, not because you became a different person, but because you built systems that work for the person you already are.